Magnus was once the scourge of Barbaria's northern seas, warring against the kingdom of Argos. In a grand battle against Argos' king, Magnus fell to his death in an exchange of lethal blows. But Magnus would not fade into death at shipwreck waters, driven by his determination to regain his stolen bloodsong. The shroud of doom falling over Barbaria has weakened the curse that kept Magnus from pursuing bloodsong. He has waited too long between life and death, and with his new freedom, his journey has only begun. Free at last. Magnus's rest was disturbed by the nimble demon Jinn as she poked him with her taloned finger. She purred as she told Magnus his long slumber was over. She spoke of the end of the world, that the time of corruption was upon the mortal world. She exclaimed that the prophecy had finally come to Barbaria. Magnus seemed uninterested, swatting at her hand like an annoying fly. Jinn, angered, struck Magnus, and they fought. Round 1. Ready. Fight! You win! Round 2. Ready. Fight! The ghostly form of Magnus was tall, gaunt, and strong. He proved to Jinn that he was master of his own fate, overpowering her in a test of combat. The demon cowered, hunching over as she backpedaled. She told Magnus that the curse of entrapment was no longer upon him, and she fled. With overwhelming emotion, Magnus shouted that he was free. Returning home, Magnus returned to his old kingdom in the east and saw its lord and ruler, the wizard warrior Korath. Korath told him that he must prove that he was still worthy of the kingdom in combat, and so the test of mettle was begun. Round 1. Ready. Fight! Round 2. Ready. Fight! Korath was overpowered, and he granted Magnus his rightful title as Naval Commander once more, and recognized his new title as Lord of the Undead. Magnus's pride swelled, for even after death he ruled again the navies of Cordine. He still had much to do before he would resume his duties, but he felt he had begun to reclaim his life. Father's memory. Magnus felt important, known for his power to command the undead to do his bidding, and for being commander of the Eastern navies. He remembered his father, drafted into the armies of Argos long ago, and his being left alone in battle after his platoon was ordered to attack an unbeatable force commanded by the now disbanded Caspian legionnaires. Argos sent his father to his death knowingly. They said it was for strategic necessity. Magnus always wondered why his necessity to have a father mattered nothing to Argos. What about his father's need to live? Magnus remembered a girl, Fade was her name, that he'd met after she'd run away from her orphanage. She was training then to become an assassin, and she was quite renowned now. He thought she might offer him advice on how to best hurt Argos. When he found Fade, she demanded he prove himself worthy of her guidance, and so they fought. Round 1. Ready. Fight! You lose. Round 2. Ready. Fight. You win. Round 3. Ready. Fight. You win! Fade was bested in combat and kneeled before the mighty Magnus. She told him that Argos would be hurt most by killing its head, Princess Keelah. She warned that Keelah was protected from Magnus by the spirit of her father, but once Magnus reclaimed bloodsong, her father would no longer be able to help her. Fade said, however, that someone else could kill her now, perhaps the undead Stitch. She told him that she had a contract for both Dagon's and Keelah's termination, but they would have to wait until she was ready. But Magnus was more than welcome to do either job. Fade's bidding. Magnus traveled to the glacial lands of Skurlock, where he found Dagon of the clan Dolok. Fade wanted Dagon slain to fulfill one of her assassinations, and Magnus wanted him dead because he knew Dagon had cut the hand from his mother years ago. Dagon saw him, ignorant of Magnus's goals, and asked what brought this nautical dead to his lost fortress. Magnus raged that he was the Axeman. Round 1. Ready. Fight. You win. Round 2. Ready. Fight. Dagon fell backward, asking what he had done to this Magnus to merit his wrath. Magnus seethed in fury and struck him down, saying that Dagon's clan had cut the hand from his mother when she stole only bread to feed herself and her son, named Magnus. No heroes allowed. Memories flooded Magnus. He remembered his mother was left to fend for herself and him as a little boy after his father died. She stole food and sold everything she could to make money. She was looked down on, but she did what she had to do. She worked day and night for anyone who could pay her with money, food, or shelter. One day she was caught, and the Skurlockian barbarian Dagon cut her hand off, saying she would steal no more. She was taken to the prisons of Aquila, where she was to live out the rest of her days. Magnus remembered that he went there as a child to find his mother and saw guards beating her, and a big man in cell number 21 just watched. He went to find the indifferent man from cell 21. He wanted justice. He found him within Aquila and attacked. Round 1. Ready. Fight. You win. Round 2. Ready. Fight. You win! 21 collapsed to the ground, not knowing why he was attacked. Magnus told him he would never know, and spun around with his sword extended, decapitating 21. Of forest songs. Magnus traveled deep into the venomous swamp, navigating its dense foliage. He came upon the Green Woman, last of the Greenlings, and he told her he had come for Forest Song, the relic of warning and protection. Ayara turned to him, and asked how he knew of it. Magnus offered no more cordial words and attacked. Round 1. Ready. Fight. Round 2. Ready. Fight. You win. Ayara's lifeless body fell into the shrubs, and Magnus took from her waist the artifact. He chortled and said that now he would be warned of danger and cautioned of foes nearby. Magnus found notes of Ayara's that explained she discovered a little monkey had been transformed into a huge ape by some kind of relic stone not unlike her forest song. Songs of Blood. Magnus found Mongo, the ape that swallowed his bloodsong after he'd lost in his fated battle against the King of Argos. Mongo lived within the Forgotten Ruins, and Magnus was determined to make it his burial ground. Magnus could feel bloodsong as he neared the ape. It seemed to touch his soul. All of his nerves tingled. Magnus wasted no time and beset Mongo with his huge sword. Round 1. Ready. Fight. Round 2. Ready. Fight. 3, ready, fight! Mongo never expected to be attacked deep within his hiding place in the ruins, but he was, and his life faded. He had found death before, but somehow life to him was always restored. Magnus knew why, for bloodsong was within him, and this time it would not be, for Magnus cut him open and ripped it from Mongo's heart. Magnus now had forest song and bloodsong. Argosian undead. Magnus had heard a fellow undead lived in the underground sewers, and what was more interesting to Magnus was that this man was said to have free will, just like Magnus did. Magnus thought such an undead man would be a great ally, and so he went to the sewers to find him. He wondered if he might help him slay Keelah. When he arrived, he was attacked outright. Round 1. Ready. Fight. Win. Round 2. Ready. Fight. Stitch staggered and said that Princess Keelah told him he would be a hero if he slew Magnus, and that he could have a normal life within her kingdom. Magnus told Stitch he was naive and finished him. judged judge. Everywhere Magnus went, there was more violence and killing. He did not mind it, but he thought there was no rest for him. He felt this violence was all because of Argos' constant meddling in the lives of innocent people. He decided it was time, now that he had both Forest Song and Bloodsong, to kill Keelah in the name of justice. He attacked Keelah in the capital of Argos, Shorestone Castle. Round 1. Ready. Fight. Win. Round 2. Ready. Fight. Round 3. Ready. Fight. Princess Keelah was cut open, Magnus's blade wresting her life from her. She called to her father, but was not heard. Magnus chortled that he alone ended the royal family of Argos, and now Argos was without a king, a queen, prince, or princess. Argos was over. demon's death. Feeling powerful and successful, Magnus set out to the lower Darklands to find the demon Jinn, to finish the demon that awoke him from death. He found her deep within the volcanic region and asked who she served. Magnus knew demons existed only in the mortal world when bound to a summoner. Jinn said, unless defeated, she could tell him no information of her master. They joined battle. Round 1. Ready. Fight! Round 2. Ready. Fight! Round 3. Ready. Fight! The fire that danced across the demon's skin diminished, and as it did, Jinn's life did too. Her skin began to flake off as ash, and she knew her mortal life was soon to be over. This freed Jinn of her summons bond, and she answered Magnus. She spoke of Korath, an apprentice to the Archmage Zog, and of their draining the world of life and magic so they could become all-powerful. She told Magnus that Korath could be found in the land of desolation. Foul apprentice. Finding Korath within the land of desolation, Magnus was surprised to see a light purple aura glowed around his body. This was an odd magic, thought Magnus. Near Korath stood a pillar of magic, lightning arcing all round it. Korath rose and told Magnus that his quest was over, that he had come upon the all-powerful Korath. Round one. Ready. Fight! With the pillar breaking, Korath's life ended. Somehow, he had become linked to it for his life and strength. Magnus felt he was the greatest of all beings in the world. Before the pillar materialized a glowing, magical portal made of swirling red light. Finale. Magnus entered the portal and found himself in another place, far atop an island, standing on a stone bridge. He saw a stone golem, a huge man made of stone. The golem turned its head to Magnus and spoke. "You have done well, Magnus, to come so far to find me. It is a shame that your arrogance has led you to think you could stop me. The gods fear me, Magnus. Why don't you tremble before me? Do you know who I am? I am Zog!" Round one. Ready. Fight! Magnus killed me, and I finally rested in peace. The world you came from was my most prized possession, if one truly possesses the world they live in. But I poisoned it with my dream to completely own it. Yes, Magnus, I drove spikes deep into the core so that I could be one with the world and feed on its core. But I realized I pierced Barbaria's heart and was drinking its very lifeblood. To remove my pillars from it would leave gaping holes that would cause the land to die, and so I fed upon it slowly. I tried to eat as little as possible to sustain my life so that I could maintain the pillar's stability. So much power did I drain, however, that the world began to decay, and Naraka saw the mortal wound I'd inflicted. The underworld rejoiced, for their world of hell and darkness came to infect the dying world. Entropy was their gift to the world through my pillar. I opened the way for this tragedy. I saw only one hope, and that was for my life to be ended, for then my magic would dissolve safely, as it always had been for spellcasters. I needed the prophecy to come true. I saw you, Magnus, and I knew your conceit would hinder your desire to adventure and stop me. So I ripped bloodsong from you in that fated battle against the King of Argos. I sent it over the deck and into the ocean where it would be lost. You were caught between life and death as I planned. You would live as long as I needed to fulfill your role as the prophesied hero. And yet, you would hate life and want to regain your bloodsong and seek revenge. I knew what motivated you, Magnus, and I used it. I used you. Of course, it was all necessary. I'm sorry I took from you the worldly delights of the flesh and trapped you in the realm of the undead. But within that world you are Lord and Master. I gave you that power to command the mindless living dead. They cannot help but serve your will. It is your time now, Magnus, to take up arms and raise the legions of darkness to wage war against the living, as it was meant to be. With my death, the world continues, and the balance will maintain. There must be evil, just as there must be good. You, Magnus, are evil's commander. May your endless quest for revenge and domination give you pleasure.